Hi, are you a storyteller? In my filing cabinet behind me is a file called the Storytellers Guild. And I was a member of the Australian Storytellers Guild for about 5 years, 25 years ago to probably 20 years ago. And I have in that filing cabinet a little piece of cardboard on which is marked professional level storyteller. In other words, I was accredited by my peers as being good enough to earn a living at storytelling. I never took that up. But what I did notice in the Storytelling Guild is that storytellers tell stories to other storytellers who tell stories. And this was how it went around generally. The various meetings we attended, we told stories to one another. Very rarely indeed did we venture out of the circle of storytellers, even though we might visit storytellers from other guilds, for example, down in Canberra. And we might have workshops and we might have conferences, but generally speaking, storytellers told stories to storytellers. By that time, of course, I'd already been talking to audiences outside of the storyteller circle for a number of years. I became a storyteller within the guild, hoping to pick up more information, which I did. But the main thing I discerned is that most storytellers told stories either to their own groups or to children. Now, children wasn't my forte. I wanted to speak to adults. And so eventually I left the Storytellers Guild and went outside and spoke to mostly retiree groups. And the sort of stories I told are often from history, real factual stories from history. I can remember somebody in an audience once saying to me, "Tom, if you were a history teacher, history would be the favourite subject of the kids in school." Well, I guess I bring stories to life, and that's what is important. If you are a storyteller, who do you tell your stories to? Is it just within a guild? Is it just within, say, an organisation to which you belong? I'm a member of Toastmasters International. Have been for 50 years. I've told many of my shorter stories in speeches at Toastmasters. But my longer speeches, the ones that can hold an audience for 30, 40 and 50 minutes, I have to tell to audiences outside of any Storytellers Guild or any Toastmasters organisation. So the point I'm making is this: if you're a storyteller, make sure that you've got a market to tell your stories to. I recommend, if you've got longer stories and they're interesting and you're a good speaker, and you know you're a good speaker, go outside to all the various seniors groups that are available. There are, for example, probably around 1,200 Probus clubs in Australia, maybe more, with audiences ranging from 40 to maybe 200 people. I've spoken to, I can't remember how many, about 170 different Probus clubs, many of them more than once. And then there's the national seniors groups, many of those indeed. There used to be shoppers groups. Some of the shoppers groups run by a woman now deceased, Christine Lewis. She used to line me up with audiences of 200 and 300 people quite regularly. So the audiences are there if you are a good storyteller and you want to tell your stories to big audiences. If you don't, if you want to just stick with your little circle, by all means do that. But I can remember, in all of the time I was in the Storytellers Guild, I think we did one gig at the University of Western Sydney. Other than that, it was just more or less small time within ourselves at schools, restaurants, that type of thing. If you want big audiences regularly, go outside your group and find those audiences. They're easy to find. There are simply thousands of them, just waiting to be entertained by a good speaker, a good storyteller, someone like you.